Hey you guys, today for Reading Workshop, we're going to be focusing on Session 8, which is reading differently because of conversations. I've really been a firm believer that when you read for yourself, you are just doing that. You're reading for yourself and you don't really focus deeply on the story or even the words. But if I told you that you're going to be having a conversation with a partner today regarding your book, and you are going to have to talk deeply and intelligently about your book, I can guarantee you that you're probably going to read differently and focus a little bit better because of those conversations. Because that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. You know, I don't care if you're reading a nonfiction book or a fiction book. I believe when it comes time for us to be able to have a conversation about a book, you're going to really think differently about that book based on that conversation. It's not like you're going to be asking questions to a partner about your book. That's not what this is. You're going to be getting question starters that are going to allow you to have deep thoughts about your book. You're actually going to be telling your partner about your book. They're not going to be answering any questions. And I think it's really important that as we're reading and we're thinking about these prompts that you're going to see in a minute, that you actually anticipate what that conversation is going to look like in your mind. You actually have to visualize it. And you actually want to hold a little book talk in your mind because that's going to make you better. And that's going to make your conversation that much better. And that's what really good readers do. So before we really get started, I want you guys to take a screenshot of this slide because this is going to be a slide that you're going to use a lot, not only when it comes to nonfiction books, but when it comes time for our book talks. And this also will transfer over to fictional books. This includes several things that will help you. Number one, it includes the way to start a conversation. So one of the best ways to start a conversation with a text is to locate the big idea or the main idea and then to talk about that idea. And then it also includes all of the question starters that you can use to hold a conversation. Remember, you are not developing questions. You are developing a conversation that's going to be taking place with a partner. That's an extremely important thing to keep in mind. You are not asking questions, but you are developing a conversation. So again, what you see here is a list of talking and thinking response starters that people use to think and talk in response to their ideas about a text. So how do you go about using these things? Well, I'm going to start off here with this first one. And I'm going to go back to the text that you're familiar with and that I'm familiar with that I read to you last week about octopus. And since we're both familiar with it, I thought that would be a great example to use in order to get the point across. So let's start with the first one. I can picture how this goes. You know, color changes show how an octopus is feeling. I can picture how this goes. If you think about it, the octopus sees something scary and gets terrified. Streaks of color probably shoot up and down it, like red, black, and green, because those are the colors that I would anticipate with fear. If it feels peaceful or even sleepy, those colors probably turn pale because pale colors are almost relaxing. You see what I did there? I was talking about the text, but I used that conversation starter to help me develop the text, develop that conversation. Let's try another one. The weird thing about this is that I really didn't think that an octopus as having a really personality, or even for that matter, a complicated personality. I didn't even know that an octopus had feelings, let alone that its body changed colors to show its feelings. I mean, think about that. I never even could imagine that a fish or a mammal could have feelings. And what other animal on the whole earth does the same thing anyway? I mean, I know that a salamander, which is a type of fish, it can change with whichever color is around them, but they're not changing necessarily the feeling that's inside of them. You see what I did there again? I'm building a conversation based on these not these question starters, but these conversation starters. Let's try one more. Let's go to the next one. This makes me think that. This makes me think that an octopus may be more advanced and more developed animal than I ever thought it would be. I mean, maybe in some ways, an octopus can be like a dog or even a cat. Maybe it can be like one of our pets. Be kind of funny to see you walking down the street with an octopus on a leash. Okay, that's all there is to it. You know, when you are holding a conversation or trying to develop a conversation, you actually are inferring a little bit and you're thinking about your text and you're thinking deeply about your text. Don't get me wrong. I think this is a hard thing to do. I really do. And I think it's a hard thing to do because, well, for me, it's a little bit easier because I've had years of practice at it. But for you, it's going to be a little bit harder and it's going to be taking some thinking. But it will pay off huge for you in your conversations if you really put in the effort. So what is it that you're going to do today? Well, while you're reading, you're going to develop, I say questions on here, but it's responses. So you can discuss your book with a partner. Notice I said responses, not a response. There's a difference between one and many. A conversation is not one thing. A conversation is many things. And your score that you receive today is going to be based on your work, how many responses that you have, and how good those responses are. You're going to have to take notes or write down your response for me. I don't need it word for word, but I should see the general idea of it on your post-it note or your mind map or whatever application you decide to submit your work to me. I want to be able to look at it and be able to see the conversation that you would be having from it. So you're going to be writing more detail than just like a supporting detail. You're going to have to put in several sentences for me to understand. And then you're going to submit all that work to me to the standard-based grading Dropbox at the end of class today, because this is going towards a standard. And then when the conversations are going to start, and if you don't have any, I say questions again, I apologize, it's responses, you're going to be given a 1 for a score because you have an anticipated expectation of what you're going to have done today during reading workshop time. And then you're not going to be allowed to join a partner. There is no reason with the books that you've been reading for weeks that you are not able to read. Keep these conversation starters in mind and start developing a conversation. Write down 2 to 4 or 5 sentences on a post-it note to have it ready when you meet with your partner today. Good luck, and I look forward to hearing your conversations and even more so, seeing the conversations that you're going to submit to me today.